Hello, welcome. Today we are reviewing the TC Electronic Spark Booster Mini. I'm going to tell you why this is an always on my board, and I'm going to tell you why I love it and what my one big disappointment is with it. So stay tuned and check it out. Okay, here we go with the Spark Booster Mini, coming to you today from my studio here in New Zealand, where we are on complete lockdown for 4 weeks. We can only leave our houses to exercise. You can go for a walk around the block, or you can go to the supermarket or the pharmacy, and that's pretty much it. So right in the middle of COVID-19 pandemic. Comment below, let us know where you're from and what's happening in your country, how you're getting on. So far we've got about 460 something cases here as of today. We are going into lockdown early to try and get ahead of the thing. We haven't had any deaths yet, and we really hope and pray that it stays that way. But yeah, let us know where you're at and how you're getting on down below. Side note, but worth a mention, you know, it's like a historical time right now. Anyway, the Spark Booster Mini, it's not really a lot to look at on here, unfortunately. But great pedal. It's small, so it doesn't take up much space on your board. That's the reason I've got this one and not the full-size version. If I had the space for the full-size version, I'd probably go that way. For one specific reason, which is my one disappointment with this pedal, is that it doesn't have tone printing. Okay, I would have loved to have seen tone printing in this pedal, so that you could get all of the parameters that you have on the larger pedal and you could put it in as a tone print. Like, I'm pretty sure you can do that with the Hall of Fame Mini. I'm pretty sure that you can tone print into that. I might be corrected, but that's what I think. But anyway, that would have been cool. It would have been cool. But anyway, it's still a great pedal. And like I say, this is an always on my board, because the way I personally use this is kind of like a buffer. And if you don't know what a buffer is, all of your cabling basically causes what's called impedance, which basically sucks your tone, or makes your tone suck, because you got 30 odd feet, 20 to 30 feet from your guitar to your board, depending what you use, and then you got a whole lot of little patch cables going all over the place, and then you got another 30 feet to your amp off stage, if you're like me and you have an off stage amp, right? So that's a lot of distance for your signal to travel, and it gets basically dulled down as it travels through all of that. Okay, so what is handy? Buffers. So this isn't the only buffer I have on my board, because I have a Boss pedal, and Boss pedals, when their bypass is buffered, right, rather than true bypass. Okay, but for more info on that, just look up buffers, and why you need one. Alright, so that's basically what I use this as. I use it as a tone cleanup. I leave it on all the time, okay? But that's not the only way to use a clean boost. You can, so this will be roughly where I have my level set, but you can of course crank that up, and you can use it just to boost your volume. You can use it to push the front of a tube amp. You can use it, for your leads, just to give that extra push so that you break through a little bit more. You can use it to push other drive pedals, etc., etc. Okay, so we're going to look at a bunch of the stuff. What I'm doing first, okay, is I'm going to have a play with this with dead strings on. What I call dead strings, anyway. These are strings that I wouldn't gig with because of circumstances. I haven't actually played guitar live for ages, so I haven't put new strings on this, but I am going to do that today But before I do it, I want you to see what this can do for dead strings. All right, so that's the first thing we're going to do. We're going to chuck this back on the board, plug it in, play, and then we'll whack some new strings on, and then we'll do all our other things. Cool. So I'll get this back on the board. I'm not using anything fancy today. Okay. You know, this isn't one of those videos with like amazing tone to start with. I'm using a PV Envoy 110, which is a trans tube amp, which is one of those amps that uses transistors and stuff to try and sound like a tube amp, but it doesn't, because that's never going to work because they're not tubes, right? Sorry guys, sorry scientists, but it's just, guitarists know it's never going to happen. All right, so it's just like a run-of-the-mill cheapo amp, and Mexican Telecaster. Cool. So and my pedal board, which I'll tell you what I'm using, but to start with it'll just be the spark booster anyway. Cool. So we'll get it on the board and get into it. So now the dead string test. So these are strings. They might not be as dead as what some people would use still, but I wouldn't be gigging with them. We're going to put new strings on just for this video. There will also be new songs because I have to make up songs as we go. Because you can't play real songs in these videos because then you get demonetized, and we don't want that to happen, right? So I'm just making this stuff up. So if I muck it up, don't judge me, right? Okay, so pedal off at the moment. And I am using my neck pickup, which is, although it's a humbucker, is actually split into a single coil just at the moment. Cool. No other pedals, just the spark booster, which is currently off. Cool. And picking. Cool. Could you hear the difference? Hopefully you're using headphones or something, so you've got more chance of hearing it. I can definitely hear it here in the room, believe me. Cool. So we're going to get some new strings on. And on that note, I will today be using D'Addario NYXLs. If you haven't tried these are well worth trying. Just longevity. These, for whatever reason, seem to last a lot longer than other stuff. And I've tried a lot of different strings. We're going to be going to a 9 gauge today, because if you haven't seen Rick Beato and Rich Shell's videos where they try all the different string gauges, they're worth checking out, because you're probably using a heavier string gauge than you really need to. So currently I've got 11s on, which are too heavy for me. I knew as soon as I put them on that they were too heavy, because I normally use 10s anyway, but so I'm dropping down to a 9 just to check that out. But I will put a Amazon link in the description for where you can check out these strings and also this pedal. Cool, so we're going to get these on and then we'll get into some further testing. Okay, so new strings on now. First we will we'll do the same test as before basically, but with new strings. So see if you can hear the difference. So pedals same place. Sorry, I've changed my pickup accidentally. Picking, set off. Cool, so can you hear the difference? I certainly can in the room. I actually think more pronounced now with the new strings on. You can hear that difference in tone. But now let's try it in conjunction with some other pedals. So what we'll do, so we'll leave it set in the same place. For the moment, we'll put a compressor on first. Just got to make a couple of adjustments here. My daughter has been in here and turned some knobs, but we will let her off because she's only one. Just. Okay, so I've just flipped that back into a humbucker. We start using a bit of drive. So that's with the spark booster on. And with it off. Cool. So that was with the Route 66 overdrive, which I use as my first stage, so it's like a really light overdrive. The reason I like the Route 66 is because it's got a clean mix knob, which means you can make it as transparent as you like, which is great. My second stage overdrive is the MXR custom badass modified overdrive. Okay, which has got great tone. It is a little hard to control if you're not going for like masses of overdrive. You've got to really like rein the thing back. So I'm just trying to find that spot, right? Okay, so now with that, we'll push that level up to about 1/4 on our spark booster here. Okay, so with it off, okay, so two things there. Your volume is coming up, obviously, but also what you're doing is you're pushing that other overdrive a little bit, and you're pushing the front end of the amp. So I'll flick this overdrive off for a minute. That's with it on, sorry. So with it off, spark booster on. So you can see that volume change, and you can also see how that would push the front of the tube amp. Not as noticeable on this thing on a clean sound, but in a tube amp, different story, right? You get that thing to growl just by pushing it that little bit more. Apologies, I was going to use a tube amp in this video, but my tube amp is on location, and I can't go there, right? Because the cops will pull me up and send me home. At least I don't live in India where they just go out and whack people with sticks if they don't go home. Our cops at the moment are just telling people to go home for now. Anyway, so you can see once we even move that knob far right, like we're only up to like 1/4, and already that thing's pushing. So if you want to cut through for the leads, easy. Let's actually just crank the thing up. So we'll go up to that 3/4 point. So I'm just going to show you a volume difference here. Hopefully I don't wake the baby up, because then I'll be in trouble. So I'm not going to play heaps, but okay, that probably distorted everything anyway, so you don't want to hear it for a long time. But that's at that 3/4 point. Cool. So as we move on, I've just rolled it back to our starting point where we had it first, basically. So that we aren't overdoing things. Right, so now let's try the overdrives stacked together. So that's just the Route 66 and the MXR. Now with the spark booster. Cool. Let's chuck a bit more gain on the MXR there. Let's actually drop our tuning down. Folk out there. Now I've got to think of something to play and drop D. I think the heavier you get, the bit harder it is to tell the difference actually. Let's go back to E. Doesn't help that I don't really play metal, so that was kind of just bad. Let's kick it a bit. So that's spark booster on, and with it off. Okay, let's play something different. Delay, reverb. Let's chuck a little bit of overdrive in just for fun. Booster. Cool, so that has been the Spark Booster Mini. I hope this has helped you out. Remember to click like and subscribe, and we will see you in our next video.